Hi, I'm Boone. This is Boone's Slot Car Garage. And tonight, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make some tire barriers. So if we look down on the layout, look down in this area right here, we have a guardrail that stops and it meets up over here. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and make tire barrier that goes through this area. Now, we could go out, we could buy tire barriers, but you know, they get a little bit costly. And if you don't have a bunch of tires laying around because of the years of slot cars you've been doing, you know, you're at a point where you don't have any tires, right? So what we're gonna do tonight is I'm gonna show you guys how to make tire barriers from scratch, all right? So let's do this. Okay, so first thing we need to do in order to do these tire barriers, we gotta get all our supplies together. So start out with, we're gonna use some polystyrene, and this is a scrap that I have laying around. And it's the same high density polystyrene that I've used in pretty much all my videos. Second thing we're gonna need is a razor knife. Third thing is some 80 grit sandpaper. Fourth, we need a round file. You need two different types of paint brushes. One to go ahead and apply our joint compound, the drywall joint compound. And the second paintbrush to go ahead and apply our black acrylic paint. And we also need a drill and drill bit. And the drill bit that we're using tonight is a 7/64 drill bit. And last but not least, you need a pipe. And what I'm using here is it's like a tent stake pipe. And you can tell that it's beveled at one side. So they like slide together when you build a tent. The diameter of this is a 1/2 inch across, and I've noticed that this is about the same size of our 1/32 scale tires that are on our slot cars. So what I've done with this pipe, if you look, I've went ahead and I've sharpened the edge so that when I push it through the styrene, it's going to cut a lot cleaner. If you don't, and you try to push it through, it makes a real rough edge and it just doesn't cut that clean. So now that we got all our supplies together, we come back, we'll start figuring these things out. Okay, so to make the punch that we're gonna use, you wanna go ahead and get yourself a flat file and then your pipe, and all you gotta do is just go ahead and sharpen the edge. So you wanna file that all down so that it makes it a sharper edge here. And when we get ready to go ahead and use this on the polystyrene, that sharp edge will cut a lot easier through the polystyrene and give it a real nice clean edge. If you don't sharpen it and you try to punch it through, the edge of the cutout, the log that we make, is gonna be all frayed and everything else. So it's real important that you take your pipe, take a file, and file this down so that it's nice and sharp all the way around the edge. All right? Okay, so first off, what we need to do is get our high density polystyrene and our pipe. And again, like I said, I went ahead and sharpened the edge. And the reason for that is when we go ahead and set this on here, we want it sharp so it's gonna cut right through. So as we put it on there, go ahead and press down and just kind of rotate it. And it'll just slice right down real clean. Once it pops down at the bottom, bring it up, grab a piece of dowel, and we'll just pop it out of here. And it makes little rounds. So you're making a tire barrier, you're gonna need probably quite a few of these depending on how big of a tire barrier, how deep, how many tires tall. So this polystyrene is 1 inch. And what I found a lot of times to get it to scale with stuff is that you're gonna wanna probably stack 3 tires tall. So being that each one of these tires is gonna be about a 1/2 inch, you're gonna run about 1.5 inches as far as your height goes on your tire barrier for a 3 tire tall tire barrier. So after you get it to this point, what we want to do is grab a hold of our drill, and we're just going to go ahead and line this up and just lightly go through the middle. Now, this isn't going to go perfectly down the center, but what we're trying to do is just make a hole that goes clean through it. So I'll go ahead and take this and just put it through, bring it back up, and you got your hole on either side. Now, you want to grab your round file, and in our hole, we're just going to want to go ahead and file this so our circumference is pretty much even all the way around. So just kind of do that, and you're going to want to dress it on both sides. Go ahead and get this side. Get that out, and there we go. We've got the hole all the way through, got a nice circumference, so the tire looks like it has a decent little sidewall on it on both sides. And we're still one step closer to our tire barrier. So we come back, we'll go ahead and slice this and do a little bit of sanding. Okay, at this point, now that we have our round and we went ahead and drilled it and filed out the inner circumference, go ahead and take your razor knife, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice this right down the middle. Now, being that we've drilled it out, it's a little bit more temperamental. You don't want to just go into it because you will crush this down. So make sure that you have a nice sharp razor knife and just kind of eyeball as far as the center of it, and you just want to go ahead and cut this guy in half. So we got two different sides. So put that guy off to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and take our 80 grit sandpaper, and what we're going to do is we're just going to dress this up a little bit. You can see how it's kind of rough. We're just going to kind of take some of the roughness out. Okay, don't need to get carried away at this point because we are going to go ahead and use our joint compound, which is going to alleviate a lot of this anyway. So just go ahead and dress that on this, all around the tread area. On the edges where the sidewall's at, just come in and lightly round the edge. Okay, just lightly round it. You don't want to sand too much or you're going to flat spot it. So we just want to go ahead and lightly give it a roundness on the edge so that it looks like, you know, a sidewall of a tire. And then go ahead and repeat that on the opposite side. All right, so we've got our little tire. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and get your joint compound and your brush, and all we're going to do is just give it a light coat. So you can see I'm kind of loading it up, but just go ahead and take this and smooth it out. And what this is going to do is multiple different things. First off, when you cut the polystyrene, you're going to have an exposed edge that's real porous. The filler is going to go ahead and fill that in, and you can come back and take care of any little imperfections that are in there as well, which is nice. The other thing is it's going to make a little bit more strength to it, so it's going to strengthen it up. And third, when we go ahead and paint it finally, it's going to be easier to paint. The paint is going to be able to apply to it easier than if it was raw polystyrene. So what we're going to do is just go ahead, like I said, just give this a light coat around it, and you don't really want to build it up. Just a light coat is all that's going to need. So we get it on there like that. If you see any little imperfections that you don't like, this is the time that you're going to want to go ahead and put some of this filler on it. So once you get it to pretty much look like that, you're done. Okay? Then all you got to do is set this off to the side and let it dry. So when we come back, we'll go ahead and finish this little guy up, and we're getting that much closer to making a tire barrier. Okay, so now our filler has completely dried up. Now just go ahead and take your 80 grit sandpaper, and what we're gonna do is just lightly hit it. And as I'm doing this, I'm turning it with my finger and just dress it up a little bit. So you'll have like little brush strokes and whatnot. And just kind of smooth those all out. And another thing is that when we're making tire barriers, they're supposed to be used tires. So if there is a little bit of imperfection and whatnot in them, that's fine, guys, because it's going to make it look like that much more realistic of a tire barrier. I can't really say that I've been to any of the old tracks that was using brand new tires off the truck, right? There are always these used tires. So you get it to that point, we're now ready for a coat of paint. Okay, now we have our black acrylic paint, and all we're gonna do is go ahead and paint this little bad boy out. So just go ahead and give it a nice coat all the way across it. And we're gonna wanna paint the inside of it and also the outside. Unfortunately with these, since they are real small, you're gonna end up getting paint on your fingers. It's just no real way around that. So at this point, if you wanted to go ahead and wear some gloves, you know, some of those nitros or some of the surgical style gloves, it probably wouldn't be that bad of an idea. And make sure that you get the inside of it as well. So I'll go ahead and get this coated all the way around, and then we'll show you what we got. So just a little bit more. Okay, one tire done. And there you go, guys. So looks like a pretty cool little tire, right? So that's one down. And if, like I said, depending on the size of the tire wall you're gonna make, you could be making a whole crap load of these. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and let this guy dry. I got a whole bunch more to make up, and we come back, we'll start constructing ourselves a tire barrier on the layout. Okay, so we went through and we went over how to make the individual tires, right? But say you want to make a tire barrier that has banners on it. So, you know, you want it billboards and everything else. Well, what you can do is you can go ahead and use your punch and punch these guys out, but instead of drilling the hole or slicing them in half, go ahead and keep them as a solid round, okay? So once you get a whole bunch of these lined up, you can make yourself a banner. Now this is something I just printed off the internet and put it into Paint, Microsoft Paint, and just sized it down. But if you want to make a banner, what you could do is go ahead and put a bunch of these on end in Microsoft Paint and make yourself a whole entire, you know, strip all the way down through, so they're not small. So what I'm doing this is just to give you guys an idea. So what you would do is you would take your logs that we cut out and get the banner down inside of it like that. Now obviously the upper portion is solid, but at that point in time you could take your tires that you had made and glue those up on the top. Now this being positioned right here, there you go, you got yourself a banner style tire barrier. And these are the type of tire barriers that you're seeing more in like some of the more modern tracks, F1 tracks, and you know, in those different style. So if it were me and I was going to go ahead and do one of these type of banner tire barriers, I would make sure that I paint each one of my individual logs that I built. And I would get them set on the corner that I'm going to do and go ahead and glue them into place so you have the contour that you want. At that point in time, once I get my other, you know, tires sat on top of it all the way down through, which I'll just grab some here out of our bucket just so we have a little bit better visual. And if you work with me here and see how all these guys are put down like that, you got this all glued together. Take your banner and then go ahead and glue it on. And the nice thing about with the logs that you have on the inside there, if you glued it on, you could actually show ripples with the paper that would go through. And you know, if you don't want the classic style raw tires and you want the banner, that's an idea of how you could do it. So I just wanted to kind of touch base on that, but we'll get back to the tire barrier that I'm building for the layout, all right? So we come back, we'll go ahead and get this thing laid out. Okay, so it's getting time to go ahead and put our tire barrier on our layout. So what I have here is some Mod Podge PVA glue, and this stuff's really cool. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take your applicator brush, and we're just going to go ahead and put down a good bead of some PVA. All right, so you go ahead and get that down in there. And the nice thing about Mod Podge, the way it dries, it's going to dry clear, and it's going to be kind of a flat. It's not going to be glossy, so that makes it real nice. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take our tires and add a little bit to the edge of this guy. Set that down. Oh, making a mess. And we're going to go ahead and just start putting these guys in here and line them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on doing this, lining these guys all on through. When we come back, we'll have our tire barrier. Okay, so I went ahead and got the tire barrier all installed. So let's go down to the layout and check it out. Now, you can see how it's just between these two. And if we put in a relation to the cars, you know, it looks like it's right in there with scale. So you can also tell that we have the two different tires that are stacked on top of each other. It gives a little bit more of a realistic look to it. It takes a little bit more time to do it that way, but the end result is, you know, well, it shows for itself. So again, if you wanted to go ahead and put banners on these, you'd want to go ahead and run 3 rows of tires and then set a banner down on the inside, and then that tire would just kind of pop off on the top. So for those guys that are building a little bit more of a modern track, that is definitely an idea for you. So let's go ahead and we'll wrap this thing up. So I hope you like it, and we did tire barriers tonight. So if you liked the video, like it, share it with others, and subscribe to my channel. And from Boone Slot Car Garage, I'll see you guys later.